Hi there and welcome to the latest review of the One Way UK Daily Devotionals. And we'll be starting on the 31st of January and we will be running through to the end of the week, which, if I'm right, is the 4th of February. So let's start. And we must remind ourselves where we are, and we are currently, if I find the right place here on the list of devotionals that I've got, we're currently considering the situation of Jonah, who has gone from the fish onto the beach, from the beach to the city of Nineveh. And there he enters Nineveh and he shouts to the crowds, 40 days from now, Nineveh will be destroyed. Now, we've talked about, I think, the nature of the Ninevites, the Assyrians. They were a feared nation. And by all accounts, by the accounts left by the people they defeated, by the accounts left by themselves, they were quite brutal in their approach to besieging cities and what they did with the inhabitants. Don't want to dwell on that, but suffice it to say that we see sadly the same things happening in our own day and age, but the Assyrians could hold masterclasses in brutality. Well, so we can understand a little bit that Jonah showed a lot of bottle by going into Nineveh and saying, you're going to be destroyed 40 days from now. This was in arguably, the most powerful capital, the most powerful people of his day, and certainly his region of the world. But I want to pick up on something else which is a little bit more positive. We've got this situation where God sees this incredibly brutal people, and what does he want to do? We know that in fact his desire is not that they should be destroyed. That's not his desire at all. And we're seeing before our eyes today a playing out of 2 Chronicles 7:14. Now, 2 Chronicles 7:14 is applied to the Israelites. But here we see the same thing being applied to pagan people. And we're going to see this played out before our eyes over the next few days. And 2 Chronicles 7:14 says this: Then if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sins and heal their land. This gives substance to John 3:16, that God so loved the world, that he gave his only begotten Son, etc. What do we learn today? We learn today that God's mercy is available to all, because if it was available for the Assyrians and all their brutality, surely we all here on earth today qualify for God's mercy and grace and love. Moving on, when the people and when the king of Nineveh heard Jonah's message, they repented. They stripped off their clothing, they put on sackcloth, they sat on heaps of ashes, and these things were to demonstrate they meant business with God, the God who had been good enough to send them this man to warn them of what was going to happen. And the king, in taking off his royal robes, putting on sackcloth, sitting in ashes, it was like he was getting off the throne of his nation and saying, God, I'm trusting you. You're on the throne. I'm getting down from the throne because you're greater than me. And I recognize that through what has been said by your prophet, that I've been wrong, and I'm just humbling myself before you. Passing question. Are we still on our throne, or have we stepped aside to give God room to get on? This initial action by the Ninevites, as we continue to look on, initially it seemed to be entirely spontaneous, but as it developed, as the movement developed, the king and his nobles sent out a decree through his city saying, no one, not even animals, may eat or drink. Nothing to, they can't eat or drink anything. Everyone is required to wear sackcloth and pray earnestly to God. In other words, the spontaneous movement became a sort of a national movement endorsed by the king. You know, in recent days we've been seeing popular movements in some North African countries where people on the streets have been saying, we don't want this form of government anymore, we want something different. And the interesting thing is to see how that has been working out. Here, it was a popular movement on the streets, and then that became adopted and became official. There is power in what ordinary people do. Challenge for you and I is that if we live our lives as Jesus wants us to, then that alone is a great challenge to those in society around us. And it is possible to change our nation one person at a time. We move on. And I'm challenged because the difference between my love and God's love is simply this. When God saw they had put a stop to their evil ways, that's the Ninevites, he had mercy on them and didn't carry out the destruction he'd threatened. Now, let's bring it up to date slightly. In 1944, if those in Nazi Germany and the leadership had humbled themselves before God like those in Nineveh and put a stop to their aggression and the extermination of the Jewish people, homosexuals, gypsies, those with special needs, and so on, they would have received God's mercy, Adolf Hitler included. Now, as I consider that in the sober light of day, it makes me realise what a quantum leap there is between my own efforts at exhibiting mercy and love to those around me and those I come across in my daily life, and that compared to God. The mechanism that can inhibit my love for others is my judgmental attitude. God knows that we're all undeserving of his unconditional love, and he knows, therefore, that we're all equally eligible to be given it. The challenge for us, and what a wonderful God we have. Nobody we see ever is beyond God's loving mercy. And importantly for you and I, nor are we. We may feel at times we disqualify ourselves, but we don't, because it was while we were yet sinners that Christ died for us. So take heart. God is on our side. God bless you. Have a great weekend. See you next week.